What's up, folks? It's Dr. Remy LeBeau, and I'm coming at you once again from the X-Lair to provide you my very deep and insightful critique of a very interesting film that I just watched called Mad Max Fury Road. Let's go for a ride, motherfuckers. My general thoughts on the film. Very interesting. I guess that's the big word here. It's like interesting. What's very cool about it is that the film is very committed to being what it is. And what it is just one long post-apocalyptic car chase. That's essentially what the entire film is. There's a little bit of stuff in the beginning, maybe some at the middle where there isn't a car chase going on. But it's really just all about this huge car chase that's happening in this post-apocalyptic desert landscape. And the entire time, at least for me, I was engaged in the film. I was intrigued by the action. The action is spectacular. It's top-notch. It's exactly what you would expect from a Mad Max film. The design, the overall production design was really unique and interesting. The world feels different. The world feels like it's moved on to a different phase. And what's coming out of it is completely different than the phase that we're in now and we have been in the past. So it has this very unique sort of flavor to the entire film. This film series has defined for me, and probably a generation, defined for us the look of what the post-apocalyptic world is, what it feels like, maybe a lot of the rules that exist within it. This film series is responsible for that, and so because of that, I feel that what the film does, which is just sort of take us back into that world and kind of keep us in that world, sort of at the edge of our seat in this very action-packed, very minimal in terms of narrative film. I think it has the right to do that because of the pedigree, because of the importance of this film series in terms of defining the genre. Thus, I would like to say that I am overall very satisfied with this film. I really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend it. Now, let's go on to some specifics. So overall, I thought every element of the film was really done well. It was really of a high caliber enough to where, you know, the suspension of disbelief was there for me. I was captivated by what was happening. I wasn't taken out of the film pretty much ever. I was just kind of like along for the ride. That's a testament to the filmmaker. That's a testament to the entire crew, of course. And of course, also very importantly, a testament to the actors. So we have Charlize Theron. She was magnificent as like this very seemingly complex character, but ultimately, because the film doesn't go too far into character, you know, just intriguing and a strong character, like a warrior who is able to handle herself in this post-apocalyptic war zone and manages to have enough of a backbone to sort of make a drastic move in her life, which basically has her completely turn away from the world that she exists in and the status that she appears to have in that world, and is of course the MacGuffin, the catalyst for the narrative, like what drives us throughout the narrative. And because Charlize Theron is a great actress and she really embodies this role, I was happy to go along on this ride with her. And then of course we have Tom Hardy, who was a strong character in the film, but really it felt more like an ensemble film. It didn't feel like it was Mad Max's film, even though Mad Max was there and he was sort of like the common element that kind of keeps the audience kind of engaged from an outsider's perspective inside of this story and world. And that was really effective and cool. At first you feel like it's going to be a very sort of male-oriented film, like there's a lot of men in the film, most of the warriors are men, and this sort of like gender dynamic aspect of the storyline drove a lot of the narrative, because it was ultimately like these wives of like the leader of like this weird tribal society that were, you know, in need of being saved, because they were basically being used to create babies, and like they were basically sex slaves with, you know, zero autonomy and zero voice. So, you know, like it was all about trying to get these women out of there and to, you know, try to give them a chance. And then eventually they get to like this colony of other women warriors who it turns out Charlize Theron was taken from as a child, who are also kind of, you know, the strong women characters. And towards the end it actually wound up like the gender dynamic actually like was sort of skewed in the direction of like a lot of women and very little men. So like Mad Max turned out to be the only man for a while. Nicholas Hoult was in there occasionally, but it was really like about this clan of women that were also trying to fight for their lives in this post-apocalyptic world, and they had adapted, and they were strong, and they were not going to take any shit, and it was really cool. I like that. I really like that aspect of it. So it was like the shifting of the gender dynamic throughout the entire film, I thought was a really strong aspect of the film, beyond just the action and the visual design. Alright, so the visual design of the film, I thought the visual design was just fantastic. Like everything was so interesting to look at. You had these like super cool like cars that were like built on top of cars with like enormous tires. Like everything looked amazing, and you know that all that was built. You know that some really cool like I don't know, probably Australian engineers like got together and they were like, let's build something fucking crazy that, you know, we would never be able to build, except this studio, it was Warner Brothers, is giving us millions of dollars to build this crazy shit that we would never build. And they did build it, and it looked fucking cool. And on top of that, like you have this really crisp sort of cinematography that kind of like really lets you look at everything really nicely. Like it's not grainy, but it still kind of has that dirty feel to it, because I think just every element of the film is dirty. Like the world that we're living in is dirty, like the society that exists within it is dirty, the characters are dirty, but everything looks great. You know, just greatly dirty, but nonetheless great. Again, like the visual design overall fantastic, top notch, and that sort of interplaying with like the cinematography, superb. Every aspect of the film, you can tell that George Miller is a filmmaker, like a real filmmaker, and you can tell every moment in this film, like every shot is like interesting, every shot is interesting. And there were a ton of like just really like mind-blowing shots where you're just like, holy shit, this is cool. Like this guy really wants us to see how cool and scary and action oriented this world is. And so because of that, it really sucks you in. At least it really sucked me in. So I was really happy about that, of course. All the filmmaking aspects, which then, you know, also bleed into performances and just ultimately the final result worked. And it was really super effective, and I was really happy to watch that film. Really happy. Alright, so in closing, I just want to say that, well, I really fucking enjoyed that film. It was really enjoyable. I highly recommend it to anybody that's just wanting to go on a thrill ride. If you're wanting to go to a movie theater and think profoundly about the state of our current world, the state of interrelationships between humans in this particular time period in our society, that may be in relation to technology, just really sort of deep philosophical thoughts, you're not gonna get that here. This is not what this film is for. This film is for the people that just want to go on an adventure ride, just want the adrenaline pumping the entire time, and maybe also kind of, you know, eventually get a little sprinkle of substance. If that's what you're looking for, then this is what you're looking for. Go watch this film, you will enjoy it. Overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give it a 9.06. I think it deserves that high of a rating. I think ultimately it is a filmmaker's film. I think George Miller is a strong filmmaker, and every aspect of this film screams that. Thanks for checking out my video. Thanks for checking out my YouTube channel, The X Lair. If you haven't already subscribed, you have the opportunity to do so at any moment. As always, I'd like to remind you that if you have the opportunity to put an X in a box, you should, because let's face it folks, ain't nobody checking me. Take care.